The Retirement Cafe Podcast, episode 94, Secrets of a Successful Retirement with Lindsey Froud.
Retired or thinking about retirement? You've come to the right place. Welcome to the Retirement Cafe Podcast. In each episode, we bring you an important conversation with insight, tips and knowledge, all designed to help you live a fulfilling and successful life in retirement. Here's your host, Chartered Financial Planner and Accredited Later Life Advisor, Justin King.
Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Retirement Cafe Podcast, which is sponsored by My Financial Planner. Not knowing when you can afford to retire or what your pensions will provide can be worrying. My Financial Planner provides independent, fixed-fee retirement planning advice, bringing clarity to your financial future. At My Financial Planner, we build you a retirement plan, bringing together all of your retirement savings and equip you with the knowledge of what improvements you can make. Find out more about getting a plan to fund the retirement you really want at myfinancialplanner.co.uk. This week, I would like to share with you another personal story of retirement, or should I say semi-retirement. The episodes of regular people telling us about their life and retirement have proven to be very popular. One of our very first episodes, number 4 in fact, of my conversation with clients and friends Nick and Debbie Taylor, telling us what makes for a successful retirement for them, continues to be one of our most downloaded episodes. So today we're going to hear the story, so far, of another client and friend, Lindsey Froud. Lindsey spent some years living in the Middle East before returning to the UK a few years ago. At this point, she decided to semi-retire at quite an early age. She shares with us today the importance of keeping working on her terms, of running, and why she tries to do something she's never done before every month. Sadly, since we recorded this episode, Lindsey's mother has passed away, so my sympathies go out to Lindsey and her family. I hope you enjoy my chat with Lindsey. Welcome, Lindsey.
Hello, Justin.
Thanks for taking the time to come in and see me today.
You're welcome, I think.
And you brought me a book.
Yes.
Tell me about this book. By the way, this is what I talk about when I talk about running.
So I bought this for my daughter, who's a great runner, and I found it in her bedroom. And it's by a Japanese chap who has quite an interesting story himself. Like, he started off running a bar,
right, and
then took up running and became quite obsessed about it. But it's very interesting because he talks about his running goals and how he deals with his disappointments. And it's sort of got parallels with life, really, I think. But he writes in a beautiful way.
Great.
So I thought Justin might give you a bit more motivation when you're having a downtime.
I look forward to reading that. Thank you very much. So you've obviously been a client for a few years now, and you're retired relatively early. You had a bit of a life outside the UK for a number of years. You brought up a family. You're now retired but still working a bit?
Still working a bit, I think. I'd hate to say I'm completely retired.
So tell me how life's kind of unfolded for you.
Well, we came back to the UK. We were living in the Middle East.
That's yourself and your husband.
So we came back in 2011.
Right.
And the Middle East was very kind to us. And we're also, as you know, quite careful.
Yeah.
Have a good time. But we
saved hard.
We think about the future. And I decided I wasn't quite ready to give up completely. And also I came back to Lymington, where we had a house, but found that the people I'd been used to seeing all have their own lives, and I had to sort of pave my own way, really. And my husband was left in the Middle East.
Right.
So I sort of made a choice to go out and do something. And years ago, I was a manager with John Lewis, so I decided that driving a white van was the thing for me.
Right.
So I got a job with Waitrose as a delivery driver.
Fantastic.
Over the Christmas period, part-time.
Yeah.
And I've stayed with it. I don't drive a van anymore.
Right.
I'm on fairly minimum hours contract, but I do other things. So I've trained up and I do a lot of work on their delivery side, and I do some audit for them, and I count their money occasionally. Probably do a few shifts a month.
Yeah.
Sometimes lot at Christmas, not so much in the summer when the weather's nice.
Yeah.
And it just gets me out of the house, really. Gets me a bit of money, a few benefits, and so it means I'm sort of retired, but not really.
Yeah. So you get to meet obviously a lot more people people as well.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. I work in Lymington,
Right.
and I love the shop, and there's some great people in there which I'd have never met otherwise.
Sure.
Because I think when you retire, you tend to say, well, you either, and I'm a member of the running club and we sail, you have quite a narrow social view of who you see.
Yeah.
So going to the shop, and the customers as well, people that work there, I met some great people who would probably never meet otherwise.
Sure.
Great sense of humour, a lot of banter at work, which you wouldn't get otherwise.
Right.
And some lovely customers. I mean, Waitrose is a bit of a community, so I work regular hours, and people get to see me regular times of the week. So I have those friends as well. So it's quite an eye opener, and I actually enjoy it. I do enjoy it.
So obviously the children I know and have met, but they've obviously left home now.
One's working, one's at university.
So that's a big shift for you as well. Gives you a bit more time, I suppose.
In theory, yes, it does. I mean, they've always been quite independent, but yes, I think it's just the fact the house is empty.
Yeah.
And everything gets done quite quickly. So it's nice to think that you've got your time and your things that you do.
Yeah. So you haven't quite finished caring for people, though, have you? Because you've still got your mum around.
Yeah, my mum's local, not in great shape.
No.
Mentally very good, physically not good, which is again interesting because you have to adjust your life to knowing that someone is semi-dependent on you, which I find actually more of a challenge than the kids at the moment.
Right. So as the kids move out, your mum replaces the caring side of your week. So tell me what does a great retirement look like to you? What do you imagine it to be like? Or is it as you imagined?
I think it's balance, actually. I think the thing that I struggle with still is getting timing right. So I never seem to have enough time. I suppose for me a great retirement is a little bit of work, or whether it be paid or voluntary. I think just to get out and to do something. We've talked about this, to do something for others. Travel is hugely important, as you know.
Yeah.
And just enjoying where you are. I mean, I think a lot of the time we all rush around and don't stop. And as we've talked about this before, Justin, but I just find, I'm quite I do get quite, not stressed, but I do get quite wound up by things, especially looking after my mother, worrying that I'm not doing the best I can. And just to take time out to stop, go for a walk, sit and read a book, have a swim.
Yeah.
I think it's all about balance, and that's what I try and say. If I've had a week where I've been frantic, that the next week I sit and make sure I have time for me or for something I haven't done the previous week.
So you mentioned swimming.
Yes.
You do a lot of that?
Yes. Not as much as I should.
Right.
But I swim usually twice a week.
Okay.
And I do...
Indoors, outdoors?
Indoors this time of year. And then hopefully, I've got a wetsuit now. I'll do more sea swimming come May time. But I'm a bit averse to the cold. And I don't like swimming in a wetsuit either.
Right. Now, was it last year you did the peer-to-peer swim?
I've done it the last 2 years.
So that, for the listeners who aren't local, tell me, what does that entail?
It's a swim between Bournemouth Pier and Boscombe Pier of 1.5 miles.
Wow.
It's for the British Heart Foundation, and thousands of people do it. I think I don't know if it's 1,000 or 1,500, but they do 2 waves. They do a 9 o'clock start, or 10 o'clock and a 12 o'clock start, and it's just good fun, very well managed, and you just swim from one pier to the other. And it can take 45 minutes 1 year, or can take nearly an hour, depending on the tides and the swell.
And I think Hannah's done that with you?
I did. I do it as part of a group called the Menopausal Mermaids.
Oh, wow, okay.
Which is a group of friends, and we train together.
Yeah.
And I think they were interviewed actually on South Today or something.
We'll have a big shout out for the Menopausal Mermaids.
It's such a great name, it needs to be. So I train with them.
Right.
So I do it with them.
Okay, so where did you meet these ladies?
They're actually, I met them through a local running club.
Right.
But we're much better swimmers than we are runners.
Okay.
And they're just a very good bunch of people, similar ages,
Great.
similar challenges in life, and similar zest for life. I think we do a lot of fun stuff together. So.
Excellent. So, swimming, running. Any running challenges this year?
Just Yes. I'm usually a spectator.
Right.
I was doing regular 10Ks, but then I hurt my hip or something. But I'm better now, and I'm starting to run again slowly with park runs, which are great.
Great.
Good thing for retirement, park run.
Park run.
But some friends are going to Istanbul to do a marathon in November, and they have a 15-kilometre race, which is 9 miles. And I've decided to enter that and train to do that. Never run that far. It runs across 2 continents.
Fantastic.
So that will be interesting.
Wow. Okay.
So we'll see. I might end up walking half of it because I've never run that far, but I think it's good to have a challenge.
Yes, absolutely. So, and you ski, of course, as well, don't you?
Yes. I hasten to add, none of these things are particularly well, but I just enjoy them. I think part of retirement, with what do you want, I enjoy everything I do. I always say I don't do anything particularly well, but I don't think people get hung up on times and speeds and things. I do think it's about just doing it. Yeah, I love to ski. I love the mountains.
Great. So the key kind of takeaways I'm hearing here are, you get a lot by being involved in the work with Waitrose, in the community, kind of meeting people there. It gives you some purpose, some fun to do.
Yeah.
Lots of people you're meeting with the menopausal mermaids.
Yeah. They have to have a mention.
and the running club and all that type of thing. You've obviously still got stuff you need to attend to, your mum and the family, etc. Where does Roy fit in all this?
Yeah, well, he
Have you got time for Roy?
Yes, I have got time for Roy. I mean, we do things. He's happy. He's very happy at home. I think we're quite different. He's very happy at home, but when he's given, I book things. He's a great companion. Great. So we do get out and we have trips up to Scotland and the lakes and a few other things.
I know he's quite into his sailing.
He loves his sailing. Yeah. He loves his sailing. So, in fact, I sail a little bit. In fact, that's another challenge I've got this year.
Wow, okay.
A friend with an ocean-going boat is going to take me out and teach me how to crew.
Wow, brilliant.
So that'll be good fun as well.
So it's a pretty occupied time. Keep yourself busy.
Well, I think the thing is, if you're reasonably active, which I try and be, there's a lot you can do out there which doesn't take a huge amount of money. And when I say I sell other people's boats, for example, if you're going to go skiing, just choose a cheap week and things. You can do things quite easily. And I think you just could go out there and embrace it. Yeah. And I always try and do something I've never done before every month, and it might be a little thing. So I went to Bletchley Park last week. Okay. Never visited there. Fascinating place.
Wow.
And next week I'm going to Kitspool skiing. I've never been to Kitspool, but it might be an experience. I might go to a city or do something that I've never done before, and just one small thing every month you've never done before.
Yeah. Now, one challenge I am going to put to you, I've got you live on the podcast, of course, is I remember that there was a little ambition of learning French.
Oh, I know. I have just picked it up again.
Brilliant.
So I can read it.
Wow.
And understand it. I just can't get the words to come out of my mouth. So I picked it up again, and I am doing probably 10, 15 minutes just with an app at the moment. But it's on my list, Justin. I just need to start. I need to be brave.
Well, you're pretty busy, so
Yes, but
I'll cut you some slack.
Yeah, I know, but I think I would probably later when I've done a bit more of my homework. I am going to join a conversation class and try and get myself to speak. But I sort of get very tongue-tied and I feel I'm being judged when I speak a foreign language. I don't know why. But as I say, I can read and I can make myself understood, but it's a bit rubbish, really. I want to be better.
And tell me, obviously, our relationship has been about financial planning. Tell me about your relationship, I suppose, with money in retirement. How do you feel about money?
It's an interesting one because I think it's a balance between enjoying it and knowing that there's a little bit left in case, whatever in case is. So I'm actually quite canny with money, as you know. So I enjoy my money and I do it, but I do have limitations on what I do. So we're very lucky we're able to get away. So I have, I think, a healthy respect for it, but I don't think it's something that you should worry about. I think you just need to be aware of it and what it can do for you. So I won't say I don't go mad, but I do like treats. I think we should always treat, shouldn't we? There's always an excuse not to spend.
Yes.
So I think it's just a case of balancing. So
Yeah.
Healthy respect. And of course I've got you, Justin.
Well, absolutely. I encourage you to spend as well.
Yeah, I know.
So,
Yeah, it's a balance. It is difficult because you could say, oh yeah, it looks like we've got, it's going to be great, but people live longer nowadays, don't they? And as I'm finding out, care is very expensive.
And how do you view, obviously I think your mum's in her 80s, is she?
Yeah, 88.
And how do you view that part of retirement in the future, when you're in your 80s, possibly 90s,
I find it quite scary, actually, because I think if you are mentally strong, that's good. If you're physically not strong, that's the bit that frightens me more. Because I like to be able to think I can at least go out for a walk, or I can get myself something, or I'm quite independent. I mean, even my husband will tell you how independent I am. So the thought that I'm having to rely on someone else is what frightens me the most, because I don't know how I can cope with that. And having to admit that would be difficult for me at the moment.
Yeah. I don't know whether you caught the podcast I did with Samuel Gray, who wrote that book called Sod 70, and I think he's now writing Sod 80.
Yeah.
And he talks about the best asset that we have is to keep moving.
Yeah.
And therefore, in our 80s and 90s, there's no reason why we still can't. If we've kept moving throughout our later years,
I think that's why you balance what you do. So, I look at people that are running marathons. I can't run a marathon. I wouldn't put myself through it. No, I wouldn't put myself through it because my hips are, not great and things like that. But I can do other things. And when I haven't been able to run, at least I've been walking. And that's how I view going forward, is I may not run as far, and I may just take it down to not running much at all, but then I will walk. So the plan is to keep moving, and especially going into hospitals and seeing people and seeing that the issues they have over a lot of time, mobility, because a lot of people get to a certain age and they just sit. I don't want to be a person that just sits.
No. Well, that's wise advice. So let's not be a retirement cafe audience who sits.
Yes. Perfect. New motto.
Fantastic. Well, Lindsey, thank you for joining me today. It's been really fascinating chatting to you, and an inspiration, I'm sure, to many of our listeners about keeping moving and all the things that you can get involved in. And I just wish you many years of successful retirement.
Well, maybe I'll be running after you in an Ironman one day, Justin, if not. Thank you.
Thanks once again to Lindsey for sharing her story. To listen to more personal story episodes, check out the show notes on our website at retirementcafe.co.uk. As ever, if you've enjoyed this episode, please do leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, and be sure to subscribe either on our website or your preferred podcast player so you never miss an episode. That way you'll also be alerted to other episodes in this series. Thanks, as always, to My Financial Planner, the fixed fee retirement planning specialist, for sponsoring the podcast. You can find out more about how they can help bring clarity to your retirement at myfinancialplanner.co.uk. So until next time, this is Justin King, helping you feel more informed in your retirement.
Thank you for listening to the Retirement Cafe podcast with Justin King. To find out more, you can find us online at theretirementcafe.co.uk.